Okay, so recently React Router has dropped its latest version, React Router version 7, and I think there are a lot of cool feature that the React Router has basically dropped, right? And there are a lot of things that we need to cover in this video. So I was thinking, let's try and create a project, and let's try using this new React Router versions. So basically, if we go to the latest version, which is this latest 7.0.1, we get this home page. So let's get through the documentation and see what they have provided and uh, what is the future of React Router. And there are so many interesting things that I want to talk about today, and we're going to try everything and just look at it one by one. So we have this React Router home, which is the title, and then we are getting React Router is a multi-strategy router for React, bridging the gap from React 18 to 19. So I think that a lot of things, such as concurrency, batching, then we have a lot of suspense, a lot of hooks, server components. All of those things come from React 19, which support we will get, and basically React Router is basically trying to maintain uh, the latest change that we are having and seeing in React, moving towards server. And I think React Router primarily what they're trying to do is create this framework, basically a full stack framework, just like Next.js is, to create different pages, not only using the client side rendering uh, feature of React.js, which by default it is, but also some static side generation and server side generation as well. So this is a really good thing. Now, you can use it maximally as a React framework or minimally as a library with your own architecture. So you have an option, right? So you can either use it as a full-fledged framework to create different pages like you normally do in Next.js or Remix, to create this static page with the static side generation, or this server-side render page that you normally do from server, or you can just use it normally with write and create React app and just use it as a library for routing purpose only. So you have two options from that. Let's focus on framework for a little bit. So basically, with framework, it provides a lot of things, right? So if you can see here, it provides routing, route models, rendering strategy, which means that it will support server-side rendering, client-side rendering. Obviously, React supports it, and then static side generation as well. Then we have data loading, how we are going to load the data, server actions, navigation, pending UI, which is basically this suspense fallback UI, and all of things that we will discuss later on. But first of all, let's jump into the zip and try and see by creating a new curator app, which is basically going to be using we are going to use it as a framework to create different kind of pages. So let's see how that works. So I'll just go to my terminal, and inside my terminal, let's just copy this command, create React router at the last at the rate, and the command here. Okay, so I'll just paste it here like this, and create a project. Yes, so maybe it will ask me a couple of questions on the project name. I think I've already given the project name, but let's see what question that might ask or may not ask. Okay. Oh, one interesting thing I see here is that it also we have to install the npm packages by default by ourselves, so that's also pretty awesome. So it says initialize a new git repository, not now. Initial dependency with npm, yes. So I think it's going to do the npm install by itself from the CLI command, which is pretty good uh, interface now to create a project, in my opinion. Next.js does the same thing as well. And also we have npm run dev, which is basically the command you also use to run the Next.js development server. But let's keep Next.js aside. Let's just focus on React Router. But it just seems like a lot of things are similar. Okay. So dependency initializing with npm. You can now open it in different route like 5173, port number, and to get started, deploy a prefer host. Okay, it's fine. Okay, so the project is created. It said that's it. Enter your project directory using this file, and then let's try it. Okay, there's something wrong with my mouse. Let me go out here. What is this again? And go to the Visual Studio Code. I will open that project. So let's go out, open, and my project is going to be inside here somewhere right here. So let me open the project and see what's in here. Okay, so the first thing that we get is this app directory, which contain route, the welcome page, I think. Yeah, and then route.tsx page, which basically contain this layout structure. Okay, that makes sense. And we have this route.tsx, which is saying that we have this one route called home slash tsx. So if you go to our routes, then you can see here we have the home.tsx, which is rendering this welcome component. Okay, that makes sense. Nice. So the architecture is like that. We have Docker initialization as well. Tailwind CSS configuration is here as well. Wide configuration is here as well. So a lot of other configuration here. Node modules is basically node modules, so there's nothing more in that. Let's go to the public file, and here we have some of the images. Package.json have this script for build, dev, start, and type check, which is pretty cool. Okay, let's jump into the main file. So I will start from the root.tsx file. Okay, so root is basically this HTML file that we will get by default. There are a lot of things here. This is cool. Obviously, I have never tried it before, so I'm going to try it out with you guys. Okay, so let's see. This is an error page, which is going to handle all the error by default. Um, so if any error occurs while creating a page, then we will by default show this error page. That makes sense, and it is handled by default by React Router, it seems. We have this layout. So layout is basically going to be a shared layout between different route and different pages, which looks good. And then we have this link function, which is going to download all the necessary file with pre-connect here our CSS file from here. So basically we're downloading the font from here. Okay, so this is a pre-connect. We're connecting it first and then downloading the fonts that we want. We have this app.css file, which seems like a tailwind CSS file because we have configured it by default. It didn't even ask me if we should integrate tailwind, but I think it does that by default, it seems like. Then we have layout, the meta tag. So meta tag is basically for the SEO, and yeah, nothing much in here. And then we have the links. Okay, so it's going to generate all the link that is going to be created by this route file, it seems. Yeah, so we have this link that says that render all the link tag created by route link function. You should render it inside the head of your document. Okay, that's great. And then we have scroll restoration, which is probably going to restore the scroll position to the top whenever we navigate. And then we have this script that's running here inside our layout. Okay, we have these children. I think children is basically going to be all these pages that we are going to render. And then we have this app component, which is going to run the outlet. So basically this outlet is going to contain all the pages that we will have inside our route segment, it seems. Yeah, that makes sense. And then we have error page to display any error if any error occurs. That makes sense. So let's go to our home, and home will display this welcome component. Let's change something here. Okay, we're getting this error for some reason, but it's fine for now. Let's go out here and run this, see if it runs or not. So I'll just say npm run dev. Okay, so I think this error was ignored. Let's go to this route, and we can see the changes, and we can see our welcome page. Okay, that makes sense. So let me also do one more thing. Let's create another route. So inside this route, I'll create about.tsx page, and this is going to be a React component. I'll give it name of about. Okay, I just want to see what happens. So in my home page, I also want to create a link here. Let's see if reactrouter provides the link. Probably 2/about, and go to about page. Okay, let's go out here and just click this, and it says the requested page could not be found. Okay, so maybe we need to do a little bit more configuration for this. Let's go to our route.tsx file. So we have this index which satisfies the route config condition, it seems. Let's see the documentation now. Let's go out here and let's see the routing. Okay, it says that in app/route.tsx, which is the file that we are on right now, we can basically provide different routes. Okay, so we have this route uh, as an index. Probably I can give some other route because this is an array. So let's provide another route and add our about page. So our about page is also inside the routes. So let's try to put routes here and put an about here like this. Okay. Okay, so it has to be about dot tsx file, it seems. Let's see. Reactive routes, we are importing the route, and okay, maybe we have to give it type of route config like this because it's an array. No, let us figure out what's going on. Let's not give it an index, let's give it a route and provide two different routes in the same place, just like in the documentation. Okay, so let's see if that works. Remove it, I'll provide it here, and this is going to be a route. There is basically a syntax error here. Let me remove that. Export default route. It will be some path, and then some path.tsx. Maybe remove this as per the documentation. Okay, so the error here is gone, but it says that there is no path that configured to the route. But let's see. Let's carry on. And it seems like it has route.tsx. We can provide different route like this. It seems that makes sense. So basically what I was doing before might also work. But let's see if we have to do anything else. I think it's fine. Maybe the route segment is going to take another function. Okay, so let's try this out and see if it works. We have this index, so let's just put it as an index file, and then okay, I got what's wrong with this one. I will put it in an index file. I'll close it. I think there's some syntax error, so let's just fix that one. And then this is going to be route, just like as well. We have given the file path, but also let's give it a name of about, right? We have to import this index as well, like this. Okay, so now every compilation is fine, so it seems it works like this. So now if I go out here and just click this about, okay, we are in about page. If I just go back and go to about page, we go to about page. So the routing seems pretty much basic, nothing much in it, so it looks pretty fine. Now let's go to the documentation and see the route module, and basically route is going to load a component. We can also have a loader file which is going to load some data for us. That makes sense. And this loader can be an async function, which is pretty cool. Okay, and it supports data loading, client loader as well, means that this will run only on browser, which is basically a client. Then we have some server actions here which we can run uh, with this action list. That makes sense. So we have these actions as well which we can handle, and then we have client action which is going to run on browser. Then we have this error page which is going to handle the error depending on what we want to handle. Okay, so let's go out here and try the first thing that we are being presented here. Okay, in our about page, what I want to do is I want to fetch something, right? So I'll just go out here and I want to export and a thing function called loader. This is going to return me some data, and let's give it let's say data is equals to an array which is going to be min, and then phones, and then let's say cars, like this. Okay, it seems like this about page is going to take our data, whatever we return from here we will get this here through the loaders, right? So I'll just go out here and this name is going to be loader data, like this. Okay, now I mistakenly closed it. So okay, now what we're going to do is let's put this about inside a s1 tag, and let's map that array. So I will say loader data dot map element, and let's just show some list with the element. We are getting the type error here, so let's just fix this one. I'll just say type element will be string, and index will be number. I should also probably give it a key of index. I think it's also asking for type, so let's just give it a type of and array of a string. So I'll just say string array. Okay, let's run the server again because I mistakenly closed that. Let's go to this route and go to the about page. So we're getting that loader data map is not a function. So let's see what this loader data gives us, right? And it will be interesting to see where it runs, in server or in browser. And let's comment these things out because we're going to try it out next. Okay, so if I go to the page, we are not getting any console log here. So it seems like by default it is a client-side render. Which client is our browser. So let's go to our browser and see if it is running on the client. If I go to the console, oh, I get the object, and object contain the data where we have that. So let's go out here and just say loader data. Okay, so the type is different now. So what we're going to do is loader is going to contain an object which will contain a data and which is going to be of type string. So maybe this will work. If I refresh it, okay, and okay, so we get the data in server. That is interesting. But if I go out here and select it, then we get the data in client as well. So that's pretty interesting. Maybe okay, so if we refresh it, we're getting the data in the server and no data in the client. Okay, let's explore this even more. But for now, let's just show the data that we are fetching here. So I'll just go out here and see here. So it's not going to be loader data dot map, and we'll get our page here. So that's fine. We will see about the server side rendering and client side rendering thing as well. But just first fetch some data in our loader function. So I'll go out here and search for fake stored. Let's search for category, because category is going to give us an array, right? So I'm going to copy this, and here I'm going to say const response equals to await fetch this URL. Okay, if response is not okay like this, then let's throw some error. Let's see how the error handling works as well. So throw new error, something went wrong. And if we have the data, then let's get the data. So this is const data is equals to await response dot json, and then here we're going to return the data. So inside data, I'm just going to replace it with the data. Okay, so if I go out in my page, I should see the list of the category, which I'm seeing it here. What happens if I throw an error? So let's give it a wrong URL, so it will be not found. If I refresh it, I get the error right here. So for some reason I am not getting the error page. Okay, so I'm getting the error page because if I go out here in my root file, in my error page, so this is our error boundary, you can see the message is oops. So if I just say oops, I am testing, and go out here, you see I get oops, I'm testing. So basically the error handling is working fine as well. So this particular component will be shown if we throw any kind of error, right? So we are throwing an error because of this URL, and error hand boundary is kind of like handling it. So you can show your own component like that, maybe an error icon or some animation showing that something went wrong. Okay, so the error handling is pretty good in here. Let's go out here and give it a proper name. There is no hot reload in here, which is pretty unique. I would love to have some hot reloads so that I don't have to refresh the page every time. Let's check out the server side rendering thing. So obviously if I just refresh it, we'll get it 3 times. So it is rendering on server, but I just want to see if it renders on client or not. So if I go out here, we're getting the error there for some reason. If I refresh it, then we are only getting it on server. Let's do one thing. Just reload this and run it again. Right, so if I refresh it, I am only getting it on the server side. So it is server side render, it seems. Okay, let's check that out in documentation. Let's see what the documentation has to say about it. Rendering strategies, right? So there are basically 3 rendering strategy here, which is client side render, basically means that it runs on the client. We have server side rendering, which basically means that it will be rendered on the server, and then we have static pre-rendering, which means that we are generating the static page. Client side rendering is by default, it means runs on the client. Server side rendering means that it will run on the server side, not on the browser side or client side. And we have static pre-rendering, which pre-rendering basically means that we are going to create a static page on build time, and then the page will always be the same, it will not change. Okay, so we are given some of the configuration here. So if you want to do SSR false, let's try this. We have react router config file. Where is it? We have it here. So in default we want to give some property here, so I'll just say SSR is false. If I refresh this, go to the page, and if I just refresh this page this time, why I'm getting null in my data? What's happening? Let's see. Why am I getting this error? Let's go out here, let's say inspect, let's go to console. Okay, so it seems like I cannot use this loader while doing the client component. Hmm. Let's just not map it then. Let's just see what will like it. Let's just comment it out. It says that we are getting the internal server error. It seems like we cannot use the loader for the client component. Let's go to the documentation again. See, uh, route are always client-side render as the user navigate around the app. If you are looking to build a single-page app, disable server-side rendering. Hmm. Server-side render require a deployment that supports it. Although it is a global setting, individual routes can still be statically pre-rendered. Route can also use client loading with client loader to avoid server-side rendering phase. Okay, I get it. So we have this client loader, right? So let's try to use that client loader. So instead of loader, let's go and say client and loader like this. See if it works. Okay, if I go out here and refresh it, huh. Okay, it is working. Yeah, cool, I like it. Let's uncomment this. I refresh this, and you can see I get this data here. There is no console log here because now we are loading this data in client, not on the server. Okay, and that's why we are getting the console log here with all the data that we are facing. So basically we can do this client side like this. If we want to make it server side, we need to use the loader, which we were doing before. So I'll just go out here and change this thing to loader like this. But if we want to use loader, it seems like we have to change this SSR to true, because loader seems to work only with server side render component. If you want to use client side rendering, then you have to give it a client loader name. Now if you refresh this page now, we will get the data, and we are getting the data here as well. I think it is client side render because it's going to initially render on the server and then on clients, but it is now server side render page, which is pretty cool. Let's check about the static pre-rendering. So it seems like we can also give this pre-render function and then pre-render this page automatically as we want it. So let's try this as well. So if I go out here to try this, I think we have to use some other API. Okay, we have this random number API. I want to use this API for our purpose. So I'll just go out here. I'll copy this, and inside our about page, I will instead use this. And instead of mapping it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just say, let's give it a type any, because we don't waste our time on types now. I'll just say any, and inside our p tag, I want to basically load the stringify and loader data like this. Let's see what we will get. If I refresh this, we'll get this specific random number that's been generated for us, and that looks pretty cool. Okay, see, the thing with server-side rendering is, if I refresh this page, we'll get the new data. I think we'll get the new data for a static page, at least on development mode as well. But let's try and do something cool here. So I'll just close this. I'll just build this project and check out if it's working. So if I go out here in our page.json, we have this command to build it. So I'll just say npm run build. Okay, so this has built our project, and it seems that everything is fine, right? So, nothing much information is given here, and since we have SSR true, so I think it's going to server side render this page. To test that, we have this start, which is going to run the build that we just created, the production build. So I'll just go out here and say npm start, and it's going to restart our server on localhost 3000. So let's open it. Let's go to the about page. We get this data. Let's refresh this page and see if this number changes, and if the number changes, then it means that it is dynamic page. It is not a static page. It is a dynamic page which has been created on each refresh. So if I refresh this, we'll get the new number. If I refresh this, we're getting the new number. So if I refresh this, we are getting the new number. So it is being server side rendered. We are also getting the console log here, by the way. Okay, so this is the dynamic page. We are getting the new page on each refresh. Let's create a static page. So for the static page, it seems like on the documentation as it says that we are going to use this pre-render function, which is going to pre-render these pages. So I'll go out here, remove this, I'll just say async pre-render. This is a function, and it seems like we return some of the pages that we want to pre-render. So we can put that function on an array, and we can give the route. So I'll just say about, and it basically means that we are going to pre-render this about page, meaning that we're going to create a static page that is going to be our about page. So if I refresh this, I'll close it again, and I will just say npm run build. This is going to build our project again. Now just say npm start. Now this is going to start our project in localhost 3000. If I go out here to this page, I can go to the about page now. Now we have this number, and this is a static page, right? Because we are using pre-render function. So if it's a static page, if I refresh the page, it will not change because it's static and it has been created on build time, and it will not be created on the runtime. So if I just refresh this, you can see how many times I refreshed it, the page is still the same because it's a static page and it has been generated on the build time. So this is very, very cool that the React router is doing. And then we have this client loader, which we already tried. Navigating, we have this nav link and link, which we already tried. And then some pending UI, which is basically a spinner that we can put if we want to. And then testing is for testing purpose. And then we have custom framework, which basically suggests everything that we just did and nothing much in it. So that's pretty cool. I really like React Router. It seems like it's such an easy thing to test and try. You can try it by yourself. This is the first time that I have tried it with you, and it was a good experience. I hope you liked and enjoyed it and also learned something new. Cheers, have fun.